Well, after months of delays, the new Gordie Howe International Bridge is finally ready to open. There was a ribbon-cutting ceremony in Windsor last hour, and the bridge links what are historically two of the world's closest friends, allies, and trading partners. Of course, we're talking about Canada and the United States. But with Donald Trump's new tariff threat looming over the occasion, Canada is celebrating alone, without any U.S. officials.
Countdown from 3, 2, 1! Here we go.
Donald Trump held up the opening of the bridge as he sought a bigger slice of its profits. Canada and the United States finally struck an agreement earlier this month, but now that deal has turned into a political headache for the Prime Minister. We'll bring you much more on that story a little bit later on in the show. But first, let's go to Windsor, where we find CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick at the Gordie Howe International Bridge. So, Megan, you've been there. You've been watching the ceremony. It wrapped up last hour. How did things go today?
Well, it was a smaller ceremony than originally planned because of that joint ceremony with the Americans being called off by the Canadians in light of that latest tariff threat from U.S. President Donald Trump. But it was still a celebration here. A ribbon was actually cut. They went through with that part of the ceremony. There was also some hockey being played. They had set up a temporary hockey rink here on the bridge. We're right by the Canadian port of entry. No surprise, hockey was incorporated into this opening ceremony, given that this new bridge is named after Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey as he was known, who has deep roots on both sides of the border. Canadian-born, but spent most of his NHL career over on the other side of the river in Detroit. And from many of the speakers at this ceremony, they were talking about his legacy and also the symbolism of this bridge and how it parallels really what Gordie Howe stood for. A lot of the speakers saying that he symbolized hard work, perseverance, resilience, teamwork, and that's what building this bridge has been all about as well. So that was a common theme from the speakers. We heard from Ontario Premier Doug Ford. We heard from Canada's ambassador to the United States, Mark Wiseman. We heard from Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens. And of course, many, many members of Gordie Howe's family were here, just like they were a couple weeks ago when the opening ceremony was originally scheduled and canceled at the last minute. Many of them traveled here again from different parts of the U.S. and Canada. Murray Howe is one of Gordie Howe's children. He spoke at the ceremony, and he was just saying how thrilled the family is about this honor for his late father. Take a listen.
As a family, we are so grateful that our father was able to experience such a profound expression of love, reverence, and gratitude in the twilight of his life. We are truly humbled by the immensity of this bridge, and even more so by the immensity of this honor.
He did get a little emotional during some of his remarks, but he purposely brought up all the members on stage of the family who were here with him, Gordie Howe's kids, grandkids, great-grandkids even, I think. So this was, despite the drama and the controversy around the bridge, a very happy day for the Howe family.
Why is this bridge so important for the Windsor community?
Well, we heard quite a bit about that at the ceremony as well. The Detroit-Windsor corridor is the busiest commercial border crossing in Canada. I mean, the amount of trade that flows between the two sides of the country over the Detroit River is worth billions of dollars. Right now, the trucking industry relies mostly on the Ambassador Bridge, that privately owned bridge not too far away from the Gordie Howe Bridge. The owners of that bridge had tried to block the construction of the Gordie Howe Bridge from the beginning, launching multiple legal challenges. The trucking industry saying they are eager for this bridge to open. It's bigger. There are more lanes of traffic. That will make things go faster. The modernized ports of entry, the technology will make things go faster. Right now, they have to drive through the city of Windsor to get onto the Ambassador Bridge. That slows them down. And from the truckers and the companies they work for, we know time is money. Time is of the essence. So they are expecting this to be a faster border crossing, which will be good for the economies on both sides of the border. And we heard about that from Windsor's mayor as well at the ceremony. Here's what he said.
This region is the beating heart of trade in Canada. And every day, our auto sector, manufacturing, agriculture, and supply chains depend on us and on the continuous uninterrupted movement of goods and services across the border. A border that fuels Windsor, that protects Ontario, and a border that powers Canada. That level of integration that exists here is unique in the world, and we want to leverage every opportunity that comes with it. We want more trade, not less.
And we've heard that they also are expecting here in Windsor a boost to tourism, partly because one of the other features of this new bridge is that people will be able to walk and bike across the bridge. There are a lot of people that are really excited about being able to do that. I spoke to some community volunteers who were part of the community committees involved in the planning for this bridge. They were telling me how they worked really hard to ensure that that was going to be an option, and working hard to ensure community benefits for the people of Windsor and Detroit on both sides of the border. They told me through this whole process, they made new friends on the other side of the border, their counterparts, their community advocate counterparts. And they said they are a bit sad today that they aren't celebrating with their American friends, that this is a Canadian-only celebration. But common theme here, people here at today's ceremony not letting that overshadow their happiness, their joy, and their relief that this bridge is scheduled to open on Monday to traffic. It will be open August 5th to those cyclists and people that want to walk across the bridge.
CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick in Windsor, Ontario. Thank you, Megan. So as you heard there from Megan, there has been anticipation, there has been some celebration, but there remains tension surrounding the bridge and the ongoing trade relations between Canada and the United States. So let's dig into all of that with our next guest, Christopher Sands. He's the director of the Center for U.S.-Canada Studies at Johns Hopkins University. He's an expert on Canada-U.S. relations. He's joining us today from Washington. Mr. Sands, very good to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
It's our pleasure. And I think we need your expertise at this moment because, as you might have heard from my colleague, Megan, there's a great deal of celebration about this bridge opening up. But at the same time, you've got the absence of any U.S. official at that celebration. In fact, the U.S. president issued a statement on social media earlier in the day where he says Canada has disinvited the United States from participating in the opening of the bridge ceremony. He says that's understandable because now America is hitting them with more tariffs, that America now gets 50% of the profits from the bridge. So before we dive into the benefits of the bridge, what's your sense of America not having a presence today?
Well, I think it's one of those things. Canadians are understandably frustrated that the bridge opening has been delayed for so long. Canada's ended up paying for most of the bridge. The original plan was a four-way split between Michigan and Ontario and the two federal governments. That didn't pan out, particularly as Michigan, as your previous story mentioned, the owners of the other bridge, the Ambassador Bridge, tried to prevent the state of Michigan from paying its share of the bridge plaza. And of course, Congress neglected to fund the customs plaza for the U.S. side. So with all of the bumps along the road, Canada ended up picking an extra chunk of the cost of the bridge up on the taxpayers' dime in Canada. And then very late in the day, the administration suggested that the United States should get more ownership of the bridge, more revenue from the bridge. And that was one last bump on the road. And we've been talking about this bridge on and off since 9/11. So 25 years roughly of back and forth. It's been a very difficult bridge building. Not only did it take a long time, but there have been a lot of twists and turns along the way. So now the most important thing is that the bridge is open. Understandably, Canada's having its own celebration for the opening with those people who made a big difference in making that bridge go. I'm a little sorry to see that someone like Governor Rick Snyder was not there. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder worked really hard to bring the bridge along, and as an American, he was also disinvited from the ceremony. But there are some Americans, he'd be one of the ones on my list, who really should have been there because their contributions long before President Trump became our president were really important to seeing this bridge come together today.
Mr. Sands, the bridge opening ceremony has happened. The bridge doesn't officially open till Monday. And even in this moment, there is some hesitation of, yep, absolutely, the bridge is going to open and the traffic's going to be moving on both sides. I mean, the fact that we've come even this far and yet we're not all the way there, what do you make of that?
Oh, it is just the story of this bridge, isn't it? I mean, we thought we were close. We thought maybe this was going to happen even some time ago. We were even thinking it might have happened last fall or even the year before. There's some talk we might even get the bridge open before the 2024 U.S. presidential election. All of that has come and gone. So I think most people who are in the area and who've watched this are going to have that attitude. I'll believe it when it's actually open. You don't want to jump the gun on this one, but it does seem like it's moving in that direction, and that's important. There's so much additional capacity here. One of the reasons we came together to build this bridge was what happened on 9/11. There was a disruption. It was only about 20 minutes long when the Ambassador Bridge was closed and no one could get across the border. What people forget, though, is that auto plants operate on very tight supply chains, sometimes as little as 6 to 10 minutes of inventory. So you shut the bridge for 20 minutes, and all of a sudden you have to shut auto plants. And those auto plants were shut all over the Midwest in the United States, waiting on Canadian parts. That was a wake-up call for people in the auto industry and in Canada, the U.S. generally, that we were really vulnerable because we had one bridge, which was opened in 1927, is an older bridge, has had maintenance done over the years, but that so much could be riding on that one bridge. It was really a sign that we needed greater capacity. It wasn't so much we didn't like the old bridge, we just needed more space because trade is growing. And so this bridge was really a culmination of that concern, a realization that we're really vulnerable. And now we're looking at what's going on in Iran and how important the Straits of Hormuz is as a choke point. Well, this bridge is a choke point too, and having additional capacity lowers the risk that we'll have disruptions in the future. And let's hope there's no more 9/11s, but even just a sort of maintenance issue or a truck that runs out of gas in the middle of the bridge for some reason, anything like that could really hold us back before. The additional bridge capacity, I think, is going to make a big difference for the reliability of our supply chains and the connectivity of our two economies.
Canada has bore all the expense of producing the bridge, the construction of it, and yet now under the new deal that's been brokered with the United States and Canada, it will only get 50% of the profits, at least for the first 15 years, and the United States has a much bigger say than it previously did on how things move forward in terms of renovations to the bridge, if the tolls should go up. Is Canada giving up too much, sir?
Well, it remains to be seen, in part because we don't have all the details of what was agreed between the U.S. and Canada to get this bridge opening ready to happen. So I'd like to see the details. But one thing I would point out is that when you talk about net profits, the reason that the toll was set on the bridge was to help take care of maintenance costs. The taxpayer put a lot of money up front to build the thing, and it would be nice if routine maintenance and other sort of structural support came from a fund that was generated by users of the bridge. So the idea of a toll, I think, was a built-in feature. But if we're talking about net profits, and Canada needs to be paid back for, because that was always the understanding, where Canada picked up costs that the Americans were supposed to bear, they're going to pay themselves back through toll revenue. So you take away maintenance costs and the regular operational purpose of the toll, and you take away paying Canadians back for the essentially loan they gave to build the rest of the bridge. It'll be a while before we see net profits. And even then, it won't be a huge amount of money for some time to come. So I think in that sense, if that's all that was agreed to, we can live with it. On top of which, what we understand is that the funds are going to go into a special Canada-US infrastructure fund that, while controlled, at least on the U.S. side, the money that the U.S. gets would go into this fund. While it's controlled by the U.S., it does have a dedicated purpose, and that is related to the connectivity of the two countries. So I'm optimistic that even though it was unfortunate we had to have this fight at the last minute, people are being very smart about how they're setting this up in a way that will lead to better infrastructure and better connectivity, not just a mean tax to make Canadians or Americans pay more.
Christopher Sands, always good to speak with you, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.